What's up, guys? It's me, girl cat Corelli, and this is episode 307 of my Cat Vibe series. Today, I am painting a portrait of Shannyn Martin. Shannyn Martin is someone I follow on Instagram, and she's a wonderful girl. So, I thought I wanted to paint her portrait. I never told her about this, so I imagine this is going to be a surprise. I think Shannyn is a very colorful character, and I thought it would be an interesting challenge to paint her portrait. Again, I'm starting with a toned canvas. And this is the batch of canvases that I was toning with some burnt sienna and umber in whatever proportion. So it's kind of has this yellow reddish kind of tone to it, and I find it interesting to start with because I can basically go straight to darker tones and to lighter tones right off the bat. I'm not saying that this is necessarily the best approach, because in a lot of cases, I think it's a lot better to start somewhere in the mid-range. But in this particular case, I was using some pigment sticks just now. I believe that was either ivory black or lamp black, ivory black, I believe. That was ivory black, a pigment stick from Gamblin. I've used ivory white pigment stick as well to just, throw in some highlights right off the bat. And this is how I'm going with this painting. For the most part, I was trying to move fairly quickly. And I don't remember if I talked about this, but one of the things that I've noticed about painting, and that, there are many artists and everybody has their own approach. What I figured for myself is that initially when I started painting, I'm kind of running on excitement. I'm excited about the new subject matter, be that a landscape or be that a person or an animal or something like that, some composition, something like that. And I try to cover as much territory with paint as I possibly can. I try to work fast, both because I want the underpainting to kind of get on the canvas in one batch so that it's all wet, and I can paint wet into wet, or I can have large areas where I can blend things in while the underpainting is still not dried up. And because I prefer a more balanced approach when I have things emerging on the canvas simultaneously, more or less simultaneously. Sometimes it's different, but for the most part, at least with paintings like this, I prefer to block in large areas right off the bat. But I'm running on excitement, and it kind of helps that I move quickly. Then at some point in the painting, I start to get to the refinement point, when I get into more detail and I'm starting to think about the focal point and constructing some elements, like here, for example, something went wrong with the mouth, with the lips, and now I'm correcting that. Now, because I'm working wet into wet, it's possible, and it doesn't make too much of a mess. But what I've noticed is that if I sit on the painting for too long, and too long is too many sessions, if it's like more than 3 sessions, I start to get tired of it. And this is not being tired of the subject matter. per se. This is more about being worn down by having to look at the same subject matter for too long, because my sessions usually happen at night or late in the evening. Meanwhile, nowadays I can't really paint all day long because I'm also on the new album, and there is a lot of musical stuff to do, and there is a lot of other stuff to do, so I just can't carve out more time, even though I'd love to. So that basically means that I have a good session at night, then I go to bed, then I do my stuff throughout the day, and I constantly walk past the painting, so I see it over and over and over and over and over and over again, and my eyes get used to it the way it is, with its imperfections, with all the stuff that should be corrected, and it just kind of weighs on my eyes. Even though, in a lot of cases, I think the best way to fix something is to flip the script, to just radically change something, and forget about the version that I got used to, if that makes any sense. It's the same kind of thing in music. If I'm sitting on the mix for too long, I start to overthink, I start to overdo, and then I start to hear things that are not really there. And when I try to solve those perceived problems, I end up dragging the entire mix to a spot where, it doesn't sound as good as it previously sounded, even though perceptually it feels like, well, I've fixed this one thing, and I've adjusted the compression over here, and fixed the guitars here, so why is it not sounding all together? Why is it not sounding the way that I wanted it to sound to begin with? So I think there is something to this. I don't know if anybody has a theory about this, but I figured that there has to be a flow to each painting. And depending on the subject matter, depending on the artist, depending on the goal of the painting, whatever you're trying to accomplish with that, or a music piece, it's important to adhere to that flow, to that inner BPM of whatever the piece asks you for. It can be a song, and just like in a song, you're supposed to adhere to the BPM, right? In production, you're supposed to adhere, I think, to that flow. If you shelve that piece for too long, it becomes irrelevant. Or you grow and you outgrow that level of performance, and now that piece is just nowhere on par to where you are today. This kind of thing. So there is that sense of being in sync with the flow as well. So I figured a while ago that the best approach for myself is not to drag on projects. When a song asks of me to come out fast, it has to come out fast, and that means I'm going to prioritize that song. If a painting demands of me to paint quickly and loosely, without really overthinking, without paying too much attention to detail, then that means I will move like that. And it's going to be a more aggressive, fast-paced kind of painting. If sometimes it's the opposite. Sometimes, you start with an idea, and that idea demands a slower pace and more consideration. And then that feels more natural to that project. Right now I'm working on Sunset City album, and I've written some completely new tracks. Some very recent tracks, and they've asked to be 10 minutes long. Giants, the single that's coming out on September 22nd, is 10 minutes long. That's just what it is. And here's the finished portrait. Thank you for watching. I appreciate you being here on my channel on YouTube or on Instagram if you'll follow me on Instagram. You can find my products, my paintings on Etsy. Check out the link in the description and see for yourself. Thank you very much, and you'll hear me next time.